Welcome back, everybody, to your daily update on the state of the Malazan Empire, or parts that are outside the Malazan Empire, because we're back with Toll the Hounds. I just finished book 1 of Toll the Hounds, so we're going to talk about chapters 4, 5, and 6, and there's some stuff to talk about in here. So, let's go. Cheers. All right. So, what do we get in this in the other half of book 1? Well, we get more of the same. By the same, I mean we see how more of the players of the great tragedy that is Toll the Hounds are put on the stage, are put in place. We meet some other people that we have, well, most of them we've actually met before, and see where they're now and why they are where they are now and all of that, right? So we meet Traveler again. And now we actually, I mean, we kind of suspected it before. I mean, it was pretty obvious. But now we actually know that Traveler is, in fact, Decim Ultor, first sword of the Empire. Because we see him talk or, like, meet with Shadow Throne and Cotillion. So there's that bit. And he's on his way to meet everyone's favorite hooded Lord of Death to kill him. Killing Death is something that, you know, raises a lot of questions, but, you know, can't blame a man for trying, I guess, at this point. So, yeah. So he's also on the plane now, as well as Samar Dev and Karsa Orlong's horse. Although Karsa is not officially yet mentioned, although it's pretty clear that we can guess where he is and what he's doing at the moment. So there's that, which, you know, is cool. We get more like important things though, and there's, like, I guess it's like 2 or 3 that we need to talk about today. On the one hand, we need to start talking about, once again, the idea of religion, how it works, how it doesn't work, the idea of, how to say, religious roles and responsibilities, and who chooses whom in that kind of regard. When we come to Seerdomin, also known as the Benighted, that the priestess of the Redeemer, and all of that bit going on there. There's that. There's more of the whole, like Tist Andy thing going on that I'm always trying to find, like, spots in the story where it makes a lot of sense to talk about the whole thing in a way. I'm not sure if the situation with Anamander Rake and Endas Silan and what's his name, Spinok Durav, has yet arrived, although I feel we might have to talk about it a little bit at, like, some point here. Yeah, so let's go into that a bit. So the question that is raised once again is, can someone not accept or, like, deny a role that is thrust upon someone by the outside world? We have that with the Benighted or Seerdomin, who doesn't want to be that. He just wants to be himself there, right? He doesn't want to be part of the cult of the Redeemer. That's exactly his point there. And but other people don't accept that because they have come to rely on his role in their, like, burgeoning faith in there. And I mean, we've obviously had, like, the opposite situation in some parts, or, like, similar situations. For example, Clip is trying to be, is claiming for himself to be the mortal sword of the the Black Winged Lord, who is obviously Anamander Rake. Anamander Rake, on the other hand, denies godhood, so can that actually be the case? And, well, we'll see. about that. But yeah, the point there is that once you accept a specific role, you accept its responsibilities, and denying that role, can that actually also free you from the responsibility? Because here's the point: it's like, what is going on at the barrow? We don't know exactly all of it yet, but there's robbers there, people that are like terrorizing the faithful at the burial, and someone with the power, like just like the presence of Seerdomin, could possibly end that. But he is, since he's denying his role as the benighted or protector of the people at the burial, he's not doing that. So yeah, this is once again the question of how much of a role that is thrust upon us do we accept? Is this something like where when you say yes once, you're suddenly completely enfolded in that role and it's very difficult to get out of it again? It's that kind of thing? Probably. That's part of it. Yeah. Another thing there is that I found interesting, or not interesting, is the situation once again with Enda Silan and Anomander Rake, and Enda Silan expecting that everyone looks at him with pity, and really not wanting that. That's a very, very important aspect there, of being broken or being seen as broken by the outside world. It's like you expect people to look on you with pity or have pity with you, and you don't want that. That's the point. It's like, because yeah, you don't want people to have pity for you or the things that like have happened to you in a way. So there's that we definitely need to explore more in the future. Another, like, an overarching theme I feel in the current situation is exactly the question of how we as people deal with suffering. If we embrace suffering, what that does to us, if it, like, drags us deeper into that pit of despair, and the whole idea of the Kellic that we see in the parts of the story with what's the name? With the Bender Gullet and the other artist, Andy. That's exactly that. That sort of symbolizes that whole idea of drinking down our, like, despair, our self-loathing, all of that. Just focusing on that. That's just like symbolizes that. I feel in a very, like, is a very very powerful image for it. Is what I'm saying here. I don't want to claim symbols or anything that, but that whole part is the way it is described with the people crucified. They're maybe voluntarily crucified. That's sort of what it says, but I'm not sure about that. Yeah, they're suffering feeding these these plants that are then turned into that drink, and people getting drunk on suffering. I mean, that's how, like, allegorical you can read that. It's like people are getting drunk on suffering, and that suffering, and yeah, that gives them ecstasy apparently. We'll definitely come back to that once we reach Bastion and the Dying God. So I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna say more about it now, but that's certainly one of those really powerful symbols and weird, like, scenes. Also, like the whole idea of all these people being crucified in the fields, and just that's a really weird scene to put it mildly. There. All right. We also learn for the first time that Aranatha, while being seemingly naive or slow or whatever, childlike is, I guess, the description there, has a very powerful strength in her, and I guess we'll learn more about that in the future as well. All right. We have we also meet again, is what I'm trying to say. We meet Kalor again, everyone's favorite High King. or not so high king at the moment. I So I have a bunch of questions there that I kind of feel maybe asked before, and then we're going to talk a bit about Keller as a character because I feel that's important there. My big question is like I thought at the end, or not at the end, but in the middle of Memories of Ice, Keller gets offered the job of King of Chains, of High House Chains, right? That's kind of what Gethol offers him before he betrays and kills Whiskey Jack, which, you know. So why isn't he King of High House Chains at this point? And how come, yeah, was he betrayed? Is that once again his curse of him never getting a throne again, or what, never ascending? How did that work? Um, but anyway, he's walking around, he's feeling slightly sorry for himself. And I feel that's an interesting aspect of his character, right? He doesn't understand at all. We have that point where he's like sitting there and like questioning why Corlat and Orphantal are still hunting him. And it's like, is Anomander Rake so pissed off? I didn't do anything like. Is it because I didn't help him fight? That isn't. He completely doesn't understand these things because he is so far removed from humanity at this point in his like single-minded obsession that he has. So I feel that's one of these aspects. Like he's the absolute egomaniac. He's well justified in that, obviously. But yeah, he just is so far removed from humanity that he doesn't realize that maybe Corlat is after him because he killed Whiskey Jack, but he's trying to figure out why Rake is still hunting him, why Rake might still be angry, and this complete lack of understanding reality, I feel, is vital when it comes to trying to understand Calor, the character Calor. So yeah, there's that. Now let's look at another aspect that I feel is important, and that is Harlow the Younger, or as we know, the son of Stony Menakis, who we remember was raped in Kapustan in Memories of Ice, and he seems to be the son of that. Seems to be the result of that. We see Gruntle taking care of him, but like giving him to his former caravan guard colleague, and not all's well in that family, to put it very, very like mildly. And this is one of those things that I said like come up again and again with Steven Erikson, the vital importance of a good, like the vital importance of protecting and nurturing children and giving them working families, or like a working family environment to grow in. That's something that is important for Steven Erikson, or that at least is important for a lot of characters within the Malazan Book of the Fallen. And we'll see how Harlow deals with that once we get further into the novel, because obviously we just had that one scene where we see that his older foster brother is torturing him because he's an asshole, possibly. And once again, there we have, and that's like what I said before, that theme that comes back again and again and again. We once again have with, and I keep forgetting his name, Bennick, whatever, that guy, Harlow's, not stepfather, but, foster father, the former colleague, and him being disabled and broken, and but also voluntarily falling into that despair because it makes his wife care for him and envelop him in her kindness and so forth. And that, yeah, the fact that self-pity can become addictive is for people with actual like real problems in life. That's very like That's something that I have obviously also seen in real life, noticed in real life. I'm trying not to fall into that hole, but it is tempting from time to time, right? It is. It's like, yeah, you play up or whatever your like handicap, and people start helping you a lot, and you can lay back and have it easy and just feel this sweet self-pity. And that's a very, very powerful thing that can happen to each and every one of us. And this will, I mean, we'll continue seeing that in different versions, I guess, during Toll the Hounds. Yeah, this is just another one of them. And I promise I'll remember the name of that guy tomorrow when I come back to him, I guess. So yeah, there's that. Also, Relic Nom is back on the streets and almost gets killed by Crocus Cutter. Um, I mean, there's not that much to that story. So far, we just, get like a proof that Crocus or Cutter is actually really good at what he does now, because apparently he's able to attack Relic Nom. There's that. We also noticed that at least Mahmoud, not Mahmoud, obviously not Baruch, the alchemist, is also aware of the fact that the return of the tyrant of Darujistan is something that might just be imminent. We don't know. And you remember that they were called the Torut Cabal, which was Vorkan and Derudan and Mahmud and Baruch and all the others that Vorkan killed because of why not. And you also remember that the Torut Segul is the shield anvil. And yeah, now you can question what the Torut part of that means and what that tells us about the Cabal and what their job is. And obviously it is to shield Darujistan from the return of the tyrant. So yeah, there's that, and we'll see how that turns out in the end of in the end. I feel we should talk a bit about yeah, the end of chapter 6 with Traveler Dasim Ultor encountering these people that are, protecting, worshipping these small horses that are not real horses, and that are slowly taken over by are killed and hunted by these other tribes. And this is once again one of those themes that we see in the Malazan Book of the Fallen, when you have all these different people and the ongoing conflict and struggle of different peoples with different stages of cultural development, or whatever you want to call it, eradicating each other. And that's something that once again continues here, and we just see the sad end of it, because we have a rather, I mean, not completely pacifist, but we have a people there that is rather averse to conflict, which has led them to almost extinction. And yeah, I feel there's this whole air of sadness over that part in a way. Once again, we get all these really interesting descriptions of customs that Steven Erikson is so good at, where we have just these small elements of a local custom that we get described, and then we kind of feel not at home, but it feels so real, is what I'm saying here. It feels super real and super realistic, and I'm always amazed when these things happen. So, which other things I feel are important to talk about with these chapters? There's obviously we see Silara suffering from Crocus Cutter's abandoning her. And this is an important aspect, I feel, in a way, because it's like the idea of relationships being explored, or the kind of relationships being explored in the Malazan Book of the Fallen. There's not that much, and I know there's people who say that Stephen Erickson is not really good at exploring relationships or romance. But yeah, the concept of something that starts not exactly as a romantic, like, not, that doesn't start with love, but suddenly it's more than just a necessity, or just nice for someone. I guess we've almost all been in that situation before in life. And yeah, it's kind of sad, but yeah, it happens a lot. So there's also that, the idea of some people not being able to actually letting go of a long gone relationship. That's another problem that a lot of people in life have. All right, now let's have us a quick talk about that scene that we also need to talk about. Is like Torvald, Nom, and there's two aspects. We need to talk about Torvald, Nom, and Tessera at some point. I'll probably leave it for now. Although their relationship might just be the best romantic relationship within the entirety of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. It might just be the love between Tessera and Torvald Nom. I'm just saying that now, but we're going to explore it in more detail later. But we also need to talk about Torvald Nom breaking into the house of the moneylender that he maybe owes money to or not, and what happens in there. And I am aware that this is the scene that was called out by Leanne's Library in her video, and I'm trying not to go back into this drama, but I can't just very well ignore that scene because it is a difficult scene. I'm gonna try to first go through what happens there, look at why it can be read as problematic, and then I'm gonna look a bit at why this might not be as problematic, or why I feel that, like, yeah, well, let's just do this, okay? So basically, as what happens in that scene is Torvald Nom is entering the bedchamber of said moneylender because he suspects that all the money is in that place and all the stuff that he wants to steal. Quick aside, that page of the last verses of Anomandaris with commentary that he finds, that's just such a great joke, and I really, really enjoyed and appreciated that bit. But anyway, so he goes there, the wife of the moneylender is there, and the way it is portrayed, we see the scene where he, in order to stay in character, decides to, she thinks that he is her husband, the moneylender, and they engage in sex that is in this is sort of this weird, like, role play of him being a thief or a robber. And now obviously the twist is that he is actually a robber, so that's where the twist comes from. And this obviously is non-consensual, because she, the wife of that moneylender, whose name we don't know, she consents to having weird roleplay sex with her husband, not with someone else. So this is no consent, and this can be defined as rape if you want. Not in a legal, like strictly legal sense, at least in a lot of countries. Not in depending on your local law. But that's the point. You can call it rape. It's definitely non-consensual, and as such, it is sexual assault. And that is problematic. Obviously, the depiction of such things in literature is something that happens all the time and can be done in all kinds of ways. And we've certainly at least I have certainly read much more explicit things. The problem may stem from the tone of said scene, which is rather comedic. The question there is the author, is Steven Erikson, making fun of such a thing as non-consensual, as sexual assault or rape? We know you have that in that weird dialogue where she calls him silverfish or sliverfish. I don't know, silverfish, I think. Silverfish, and there's this bad joke about the elixir and stuff like that. And yes, I can totally understand why this can be off-putting to a lot of people. I totally get that. It can feel awkward. It can feel, yeah, yeah. It can be problematic for people to read, and I get that. And there is obviously the possibility to look at this and question, why does it have to be written in a comedic style in a way that that makes fun of such a situation? And I have like two things that I feel are important to look at here. One is, what at whose expense is the joke mostly made here? Which doesn't excuse the situation entirely, but there's that aspect. That aspect obviously is that the actual butt of the joke in said scene is the moneylender, who we can gather from the dialogue is usually not able to satisfy his wife, apparently. That's where all this talk about the elixir and stuff comes from, right? And there is that. Now you can combine that and look at how we have that scene with Charlize Stahl, Vidicus, and that whole idea of how in specific like parts of society, the how women are treated there, in a way, how women are I don't want to say trophy wives, but it's kind of that kind of thing in a way. Also, there's the joke of him only thinking about money when Torvald counts the money to actually steal it, and she's like, "You're counting again," and stuff like that. So the butt of the joke, or the actual joke, is not so much about what happens there with the non-consensual sex. The joke, the actual butt of the joke, or the point of the humor, is the depiction of the moneylender as someone who is only thinking about money, and I want to say neglecting duties. That's bullshit, but yeah, is neglecting his responsibilities or like everything else because of his greed. Now, is that something? Is that enough to make it okay? And the answer is no, not necessarily, right? It's not necessarily that. The other thing that I want to look at here, and why I think this scene fits into the book, even though it doesn't really stick out that much, but it's a very unique scene in that regard because of that slightly comedic tone. My point here is that the entirety of Torvald Nam's character arc so far, he's your average the entire thing harkens back, or I don't want to say pays homage, but references or borrows from from like earlier literature, from your picaresque novels of all these people that have all these weird adventures and misfortunes and things happening, and while being sort of rogues in the end, still kind of get like pulled through in a way. The whole picaresque genre was something that like was popular in mostly the 18th century, 17th and 18th century, I guess. And sometimes Don Quixote gets kind of pulled into that tradition, although I feel it's different. But it goes into that direction. The other part is obviously stories like your Canterbury Tales or your Decameron by Boccaccio or Chaucer, respectively. And in those stories, once again, and those are have a comedic undertone, and the entire character arc, or the way that Torvald Nam is depicted through him being a bandit chief, then him being taken by the Malazans, being put into slavery, escaping with Karsa Orlong, being captured again, coming to 7 cities, possibly into good fortune, because he meets like other people of the House of Nom who help him like free Karsa Orlong. But yet, and then when we see him arrive in the Rujistan, his home, he's once again penniless and poor and has had all kinds of other misadventures in between. He's very much that type of hero. And in a lot of these stories, your Decameron and your Canterbury Tales in particular, you have a lot of depictions of infidelity, more or less consensual, because that's once again something that you have a lot of in those stories, because obviously the question of consent was not exactly something that your 14th century Italian writer thought much about. And but you have a lot of these stories in there, like literally, like, I don't know, go read the Decameron. It's full of that. It's full of adultery, mostly with clerics. And a lot of times the humor is also, part of the humor is that people are engaging in sexual acts with other people than they thought they were. It's a staple of these kinds of stories. And since you can read the character of Torvald Nam and his adventures as a callback or as a reference to this style of literature, it is fitting that he has this type of adventure in his character, in his story arc. Once again, does this make the act of Torvald Nam in this situation okay? No, of course it doesn't. But that was never the point. It's not endorsing this kind of behavior. The entire scene is not endorsing this kind of behavior. It's just that we see that type of character that Torvald Nam is, and while we may be very sympathetic to him, because he comes across as very sympathetic, as a very nice guy, it's vital to understand that he is not, right? He was a bandit chief. He killed people before. He was a robber. Those people are not generally nice people, and just because his relationship with his wife Tessera is incredibly loving, and we're going to come back to that in the future, that doesn't mean he's a morally good, nice character all the time. So what remains is that the scene does depict something that is not okay, which is sexual assault or rape or whatever you want to call it. It uses a humorous tone, making fun of someone, not exactly of the act depicted, but of other people, in this case the moneylender, and use this like jaunty comedic voice. But that's something that we have like seen before, because it fits the character of Torvald Nam as being an example of your either your Decameron or Canterbury Tales, or your 16th, 17th century, 17th, 18th century rogue from this type of story. So that's where that tone of that particular scene may come from. Now, obviously, I'm not Stephen Erickson. He may have had completely different motives for writing this. I would never know. But that's how I read this. Now, I know that some people also read this read it in a way that they think that the wife is actually aware of the fact that it is not, that this is not her husband but someone else. That may just be possible. I didn't read it that way. But on the other hand, I've encountered the problem of sexual assault outside of the Malazan Book of the Fallen in the real world, and different debates on the question of consent and so forth over the last years. So my reading of that scene has certainly also changed more into that direction because of my outside experiences outside of reading the Malazan Book of the Fallen. One final thing that may also be important to point out here is that obviously the book is over a decade old at this point, and the entire debate on sexual assault, the depiction of sexual assault, and so forth, has changed immensely over the last decade. To the better, obviously. And yeah, to wrap this up, I would say I don't blame anyone for saying that they feel uncomfortable with this depiction, they don't like it, and so forth. I feel that's more than fair for anyone to say. I just try to point out why there may be artistic reasons for having it in here in this particular way. But once again, it's art. You don't have to like it. You can just not like it. That's fine. You can point it out and you can criticize the book for that. That's totally fine. That's why we do this thing, right? Anyway, so that's sort of my reading of that scene for now. I'll be back tomorrow with the openings of book 2 of Toll the Hounds. Until then, I wish you a great Tuesday evening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Until then, cheers.